right, hello, and welcome back to Music Theory Tips and Tricks with Dr. Ashley Bush. So some of my students have been asking for working on just secondary dominants in a gigantic row where we look at them, practice them, and I give the student time to try to write out the secondary dominant without my help. So let's try some of that, shall we? So first, writing in your key signature for B major. Fat cats go down alleys. Beautiful. Okay. So let's say that we would like to do a 7 fully diminished 4/3 of 6, resolving to 6 in this key. So the first thing that I want to do is figure out what scale degree 6 is in this key so that I can make sure I'm thinking in the right key for the secondary dominant. Scale degree 6, of course, in the key of B major is G sharp. This is something that I've been seeing a lot in homework where people are forgetting. Make sure that you remember the key signature. So there are two ways for you to think about this. You can think in the key of G sharp major, because who wouldn't want to do that? Or I can just build this quality of chord on top of G sharp, whichever you feel like works best for you. If you're the kind of person that thinks within a key, even though I kind of made fun of it, that's actually how I think. So I would think in the key of G sharp major, which is all sharps except for F, which is double sharped. Anyway, so a 7 fully diminished 4/3 in the key of G sharp is built. I unintentionally built something nasty here. Built on an F double sharp. So I would need to build a 7th chord, but that 7th chord would need to be fully diminished. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the triad is a diminished triad, which F sharp up to A sharp up to C sharp is a major triad. If I raise the root of that triad up to an F double sharp, it automatically makes it a diminished triad. So I do have a diminished triad. Now I want a diminished 7th. So again, a couple different ways for you to think about it. From F sharp up to E, if you want to think in the key of F sharp major, which is not quite as bad as G sharp, but close enough. So remember the key of F sharp major has 6 sharps. And so that is the correct chord. Now it's not in the correct position yet though, because it has to be in second inversion, which is what the 4/3 of course is implying. A C sharp would need to be my bass note. So I'm just going to take this. Oh, it's going to look ugly. And I need to resolve it to a G sharp chord. The F double sharp, of course, is going to resolve up to a G sharp. E needs to resolve down to a D sharp. Just going to include a B there, which is going to have me resolve to a 6/6. So let's have you try to do one of these on your own without my help. So let's do a 7 half diminished 6/5 of 2 that resolves to 2 in the key of E minor. Okay, pause the video. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, let's build this together. So even if you're writing it in SATB format, I would definitely recommend looking at it within an octave first. This is what I'm telling my students all the time. If you try to do all of those steps in your head before you're 100% comfortable with it, then it's more likely that you're gonna make a mistake. Think about how you used to, forgive me if this is painful, it's painful for me. Think about how you used to do math when you were in elementary school, or if you were, beginning parts of your undergrad, high school, whatever. And you had to write out all the steps so that the teacher could see you understood the steps. You want to write out those steps so that you can see it. If you're one of those people like me that could not quite visualize it easily in your head when you were working on this for the first time. So first thing I want to do is go to scale degree 2, which in the key, I did not do it again. Yep, I did. I really did. And scale degree 7 in this key is built on E sharp. So I would need to build a 7 half diminished 6/5 on E sharp. E sharp, and I need to build a diminished triad. E, G, B is a minor triad. So if I raise that and I get E sharp, G, B, which is not going to be a triad of any kind because there's a second in it, you would need to have everything stacked in thirds. So from E sharp up to G sharp is a minor third. And then from G sharp up to B sharp is a major third, so I'm fine leaning that as a B natural. So that gives us E sharp to G sharp to B, which is a diminished triad. So this is the chord that I need, and it's obviously just not in the correct inversion yet. And I would need to have the G sharp on the bottom. So the chord that I am looking at building looks like that. All the rules for how accidentals are placed and blah, blah, blah. So let's put this in comfy spacing. I'm gonna put my G sharp way, way down here because when we're doing SATB form, to separate out the bass and tenor voices is one of the best ways to make it so that you don't write yourself into a corner. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the D sharp here. And then I'm just going to put my, it'll be a little bit high, but my B and my E sharp. That way the D sharp and the E are not right next to each other, which would be a little crunchy. And it's going to resolve to a 2 chord, which is of course an F sharp AC in the key of E minor, which is usually going to appear in second inversion. And of course it's a diminished triad. So remember, we have to maintain our rules about 7th chords. Leading tones have to resolve up by step. Chordal 7s have to resolve down by step. Leading tone of this is an E sharp, of course, so that needs to go up to an F sharp, period, no matter what, especially since it's an outer voice. You can frustrate the leading tone when it's in an inner voice, but I always just kind of hate remembering that, and so I just always resolve the leading tone unless it creates some sort of major evil like parallel octaves or something, which you shouldn't have 2 leading tones in any chord anyway, so should never have parallel octaves when resolving a leading tone. There. We got it sorted. All right. And then our D sharp was our chordal 7th. So I need to have that here. I want to have an A in the bass. If I go G, E, it's a 6. It's a piece of cake. So I've got my F sharp, A, C. I think I actually want to double the A. Is that going to put me in any danger of anything? B? Nope, it's not. Okay, perfect. So then that gives me the resolution that I'm after. Now, let's try another one that does not involve double sharps, for the love of gibbers. So let's try this in B flat. I don't know, 5, 4, 3 of 7? Why not? All right, 5, 4, 3 of 7 going to a 7 diminished 6 in this key. All right, scale degree 7 in the key of B flat, as we all know, is an A. So I'm going to resolve to an A, C, E flat chord. This is my 7 diminished 6, except the C is going to be in the bass. Now I want to build the 5, 4, 3 of that chord, of A, to resolve to A. So 5 in A is E, so I'm building an E, G sharp, B natural, D chord, because I need to build a dominant 7th chord, which remember is made up of a major triad plus a minor 7th. Okay. So since it's going to be 4, 3, it has to be B, D, E, G sharp, making sure to include the B natural. This is the chord that I'm going to be building. I just have to space it out in SATB form. So since the B is going to be on the bottom, put that there. I want to put the E in the tenor, the E flat, which leaves my D and my G. Let's do the G here, the G sharp, and then let's do the D. Yeah. There's a nice crunchy tritone there in the upper voices. Okay, so now the G sharp has to resolve up to an A. Again, it's in an inner voice, so if you're at a school where you're working on voice leading, or if you're taking a class where you're working on voice leading, you can frustrate the leading tone if you absolutely have to, but you would only do that if you absolutely have to, where you would be avoiding doing something worse. Remember, the rules for voice leading are hierarchical, where the worst thing you can possibly do is like double the leading tone, parallel perfect intervals, doubling any kind of tendency tone, writing voices too close together for the practice of voice leading, meaning that you have to have an octave between the soprano and alto, between the alto and tenor, and you can have up to 2 octaves between the tenor and bass. If you need to frustrate the leading tone, if it's in an inner voice, technically you can do that. I don't like to do that if I can help it, and neither should you. E, G, B, D. So D is the chordal 7th, and that needs to come down. Look at how nicely that collapses together, but that A is pretty high for where it is in the alto voice, which means I need to be careful with my E. What am I doing? I can leave the E right where it is. E flat. Perfect. And then the B natural, because I need to have that C in the bass. Yeah, I think I'm good. Gave you a little bit of practice. If you would like more practice with this, clackety clack, let me know. Otherwise, adios.